Hey guys, hope you're all doing well tonight. This is a quick video response to Maiyanna, one of my favorite YouTubers. I love it. I love it when I look at my subscriptions and you've made a video. I know you know that, but I really do. I really do. But this is a response to you. You're responding to be serious about stock dollar manipulation, but I want to respond to you because, well, I love you, babe. So, and I have to make it quick because I have to make dinner and then go pick up my son at judo and then come back, and hopefully dinner will be completely prepared for when my wife comes home. You brought up a few interesting points in your video, and basically I agree with everything you've said. You brought up the point of your friends, a couple that make $300,000 and they're in debt over their heads and they only pay minimum. They'll be in debt for the rest of their lives, and who's to blame for that? You did say, I want to preface this with, you did say at the end of your video, well, but you know, for lack of a better way to put it, the buck does stop with us, and I couldn't agree more. Now, I know you come from the Northeast, so say, you know, I come from Massachusetts. I live in the Netherlands now, but I come from Massachusetts. Before I moved here, I made just over $100,000, and I lived within the what's called the technology belt, the Route 128 belt, and could not, even making $100,000, I could not afford to buy a home. However, I had a really cheap rent, and I would do trips to the Caribbean. I would go on a lot of trips. I would buy whatever I wanted. And I accrued a debt of $35,000 before I moved. And I had to get rid of that before I moved. And so basically, I had to trade in my retirement account to pay off my debts to zero. And I learned a very valuable lesson during that time, and to this day I am debt free except for the mortgage on our house, but we took a specific sort of a mortgage so that we would not fall into what's happening right now with the problems and lose our home. The fault of that debt that I incurred was mine. Now, a couple making $300,000 plus a year in Massachusetts, which is one of the higher income states in the Union, they could afford their home, they could live well, they could get things that they need, and even some things that they want. But them buying, jet skis when they can't afford it, or trips to China when they can't afford it, or whatever, it's their own fault. And they have, in a roundabout way, contributed to this whole problem. Now, I know you're talking about who's to blame. So I've made that clear as far as that couple is concerned. But it's easy for us to sort of all sit here and go, well, let's blame the government. Hey, you know something? The government is us. We vote in our legislators. We vote in people to represent us. Okay? You can't blame the government. When things are bad, you can't blame the government for bad things as sort of some separate unit. We are the government. And that's how I feel about that. you know, and to sort of say, yeah, you know, everyone was having fun, and yeah, hey, I did that too, but I had to pay the price for it. And so does everyone else. So that sort of leads us to this whole bailout thing you were talking about. I don't have, well, certainly, I don't think that corporations blanketly, banks or businesses blanketly should be bailed out. One thing I've noticed within this whole bailout, the first thing they do are laying off people. And then people argue, well, these are the companies that give people jobs. Hey, wait a minute. I got to tell you something. If my tax dollars are going to pay for a bailout, the first thing on the agenda, the first rule would be you can't lay anyone off. Period. You lay anyone off, you lose the bailout, and you go out of business. No layoffs. If I bail you out, and I'm saying I, as the government, I bail you out, no layoffs. Find somewhere else to cut it. But you don't lay people off being bailed out. And one last note, again, I got to get dinner started, get my son at judo. You are so right. You know, now that I live in the Netherlands, I have a little bit of a perspective I didn't have when I spent my whole life in the U.S. The U.S. is not the end-all. The U.S. is not alone. And that the rest of the world relies on the U.S. for the economy certainly is somewhat true. But the U.S. also relies now on the rest of the world. And it's about time that all you U.S. citizens out there, including me, because I'm still a U.S. citizen, I'll never give that up, we live in a world that includes places outside of our borders that affect us, and we affect them. And there's a responsibility on both sides, on everyone's side, to realize that the world is not this little microcosm that the U.S. has lived under, this bubble. So, just a couple of quick thoughts. Gotta get the eggplant parmesan done. I'll talk to you guys later.